What if I told you that there is a place inside you that no one can touch? A place that exists beneath your emotions, beneath your memories, beneath the names people have called you, the judgments they have placed on you, and the words that have kept you awake at night. What if the harshest criticism, the cruelest comment, the most painful betrayal could land in front of you like a stone dropped into still water, and you could simply watch it fall? Not because you are numb, not because you have built walls around your heart, but because you have found something far more powerful than walls. You have found your center. Today, we are going to explore exactly how to get there, through the wisdom of the ancient Stoics. Welcome to Until Awakening. Today we're going to explore a question that may completely change the way you see your thoughts, your identity, and yourself. If you enjoy exploring ideas about awareness, consciousness, and personal transformation, consider subscribing and joining our growing community. Now take a slow breath, because every awakening begins with a moment of awareness, a moment just like this one. Let's begin with a question that most people never stop to ask. When someone says something that hurts you, where does the pain actually come from? From their mouth? From their words? Think carefully. Two people can hear the exact same sentence and have completely different experiences. One person laughs it off, the other carries it for years. Same words, different worlds. This tells us something profound. The words themselves are not the source of the pain. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius understood this over 2,000 years ago. He wrote in his private journals, words that were never meant to be published, that we suffer not from the events of life, but from our judgments about those events. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. This you have the power to revoke at any moment. This single idea, if truly understood, has the power to change everything. Because if the pain comes from your interpretation, then the freedom also comes from there. And that is a place no one else can enter, only you. Now this is where Eckhart Tolle takes us even deeper. Tolle asks a question that seems simple, but has stopped millions of people in their tracks. Who exactly is it that gets hurt? When someone criticizes you, when someone dismisses you, when someone says you are not enough, who is the one that feels the wound? Is it you? The vast, quiet awareness that exists behind every thought, behind every feeling, behind every story you've ever told about yourself? Or is it something smaller, something constructed? Tolle calls it the ego, the accumulated image we have built of ourselves over years of experiences, conditioning, and fear. The ego is not you, but it believes it is you, and it will fight, sometimes viciously, to protect the story it has created. When someone's words threaten that story, the ego screams. It replays the conversation, it builds cases, it imagines revenge, it loses sleep. But here is the extraordinary truth. You are not the ego. You are the one watching the ego react. There is a part of you, Tolle calls it presence, pure awareness, the now, that has never been wounded. That cannot be wounded, because it was never in the story to begin with. The moment you discover this part of yourself, not just intellectually, but experientially, the world will never look the same again. Now let's bring in the science, because what Tolle describes as a spiritual truth, Dr. Joe Dispenza maps in the language of neuroscience, and the two align in a way that is nothing short of remarkable. Dispenza explains that every time you have an emotional reaction, every time someone's words trigger anger, shame, or hurt, your brain releases a cocktail of stress chemicals. Cortisol, adrenaline, the full biological alarm system. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Your brain does not know the difference between something that is happening right now and something you are only remembering. When you replay an argument in your head at 2 a.m., your body releases the same chemicals as if the argument is happening in real time. You are not remembering the pain. you are reliving it, over and over. And every time you do, you carve that neural pathway a little deeper. You are literally, biologically, training yourself to suffer. But Dispenza's research shows something extraordinary. The same neuroplasticity that programs us to react can be redirected. Through meditation, through conscious awareness, through deliberate mental rehearsal, you can build entirely new neural pathways where the old triggers used to live. This is not philosophy. This has been measured, documented, and replicated in labs and retreat centers around the world.
The brain you have today is not the brain you are required to keep. So how do you actually do this? Here are 3 practices, drawn directly from the teachings of Toller and Dispenza, that can begin rewiring your experience starting today. The first practice: become the witness. The next time someone says something that triggers you, and it will happen probably soon, do not react immediately. Instead, pause, take one conscious breath, and simply notice what is happening inside you. Notice the tightening in your chest. Notice the heat rising in your face. Notice the story beginning to form in your mind. And say to yourself, silently, calmly, I see this reaction. I am not this reaction. This tiny act of witnessing creates a gap between the trigger and your response. And in that gap, your freedom lives. The second practice: begin each morning in stillness. Dispenza teaches that the most powerful time to rewire your brain is the first moments after waking, before the identity of the day rushes back in, before you check your phone, before the thoughts about yesterday return. Sit in stillness. Connect to a feeling of being nobody, nowhere, at no time. Just awareness, just presence, just breath. Even 5 minutes of this begins to loosen the grip of the conditioned self. And from that place of inner stillness, the opinions of others simply have less weight. The third practice: stop feeding the story. This is perhaps Toller's most direct teaching. He says, suffering is not caused by pain, it is caused by the resistance to pain and the story we build around it. Every time you replay what they said, every time you imagine what you should have said, every time you build the case for why they were wrong, you are feeding the fire. Not with wood, with your own life force. The practice is simple but not easy. Notice when the story begins and choose not to continue it. Redirect your attention to your breath, to your body, to the present moment. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows, and what you stop feeding eventually stops living. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and something is different. Someone at work makes a cutting remark, and you feel it land, you observe it, and then you let it pass, like a cloud moving through an open sky. Someone online writes something harsh, and instead of a storm rising inside you, there is simply a quiet knowing. That is their world, not mine. Your partner says something in frustration, and instead of the old reaction, the shutdown, the explosion, the cold silence, you find yourself responding from a place you've never responded from before, a place of genuine calm, of spaciousness, of choice. This is not a fantasy version of you. This is the version of you that exists beneath the conditioning, beneath the ego, beneath the years of learned reaction. Toller calls it presence. Dispenza calls it the elevated self. The Stoics called it apatheia, not apathy, but freedom from involuntary reaction. It is real, it is available, and it is closer than you think. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need to hear this message today. And if you'd like to continue exploring consciousness, awareness, psychology, and the deeper dimensions of human transformation, you'll find more videos waiting for you here on Until Awakening. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and remember, every awakening begins with a moment of seeing clearly.